Hello everybody, welcome to video number 2. I'll be discussing how to set up a language path to start organizing your goals more efficiently to track your progress in whatever language you're learning. So I like to divide the year into 3-month sections of 4. So it'll be January to March, April to June, July to September, and October to December. Depending on when you're starting a language will depend on when your quarters will begin and how you divvy up the months. So in general, I have overarching goals that I'd like to achieve within the year. So, for example, it'll be read and understand elementary short stories, or it'll be reach A1 to C2, like how I'm feeling. I'll progress in a language depending on its complexity. So for Turkish, I want to be B2 by the end of 2025. If you are interested in how the CEFR organizes and what each A1 to C2 means, you have to Google it because I'll discuss that in a later video. However, with any goal that I set, I remember that I don't have to restrict myself to following them. They're just an outlines of things I'd like to accomplish, and they'll track my progress and show me how I've either exceeded or reached my expectations, which again, I think it's a great motivator within itself. So with the first 3 months, I am very specific with my goals to make sure I'm hitting each of them, so I have an accomplishment to look back at. So for example, I'll say I want to learn basic greetings of phrases, and then with vocabulary I'll be more specific, say, hey, I want to learn how to say the time and the date, and then I'll say I want to learn the seasons, the months, the days of the week, numbers 1 through 100, familial terms, stuff like that, just so that I can track whatever vocabulary genre I want to discuss within my basic intro, because that's the ultimate goal. I feel like for the first 3 months I want to be able to talk about myself, things I enjoy, and ask other people these questions as well as talk about the date and stuff like that. And then when it comes to verbs, depending on whether or not a language has conjugation, I always start with simply the present tense for the first 3 months because I'm not trying to overwhelm myself. Usually within the next 3 months, I'll start with the past and the future, and then as the year progresses, add the other conjugations as well. And then I start with the top 25 most used adjectives, and then with back to the verbs, top 30, and then with the nouns, top 50. You can just either look up the things you'll know you're going to use, or you can just Google top most 30, 25, 50 blank, like nouns, adjectives, in whatever language you're studying. In this beginning of the months, I also like to buy a grammar book. Like, even my linguistics teacher is against a lot of language books because he believes in just indulging in that language and beginning to speak it from day one is most helpful. But I like to organize how I'm learning languages. So the first 3 basic grammar lessons that I find in the book is what I'll stick to. That way I can maintain basic conversations, or I'll just Google it, like basic grammar in whatever language I'm learning. I personally like collecting grammar books, and my intention is to use them. So I'm just gonna collect them and use them. So that's why I added in buying your own grammar book. So from April till June, or the next 3 months, is when I start getting less specific, but increasing the numerical value of the things I want to learn. So 50 nouns, 100 adjectives, 200 nouns is usually the numbers I go for. So on top of what I've already learned, now plus whatever numerical value I've chosen for whatever I'm specifically studying. And in this month, I like to talk about how I'm going to start listening and or watching content in the language that I'm trying to learn. So YouTube, podcasts, Netflix, in my target language. I'll start indulging in those things and then writing down and memorizing phrases from them that I think I'm going to use and I think are very helpful for me to know. So there's, on top of the numerical values and whatever I'm learning I've talked about earlier, I'm also adding in a bunch of things that I can utilize from the media I am consuming. And then from July to September, or October to December, your next 6 months is when I again am less specific and stick to those numerical values and the things I'm trying to learn. And basically with these ones, I'm just increasing higher so instead of 50 verbs from April to June, or my second 3 months, it's going to be 100 more verbs, 300 more adjectives, 300 more nouns. I just like to do that. So I'm tracking how much words I know. That way, I'm not using it as a way to see how proficient I am. Instead, I'm trying to make sure I'm targeting each part of like speech. So yeah, I'm not using it as saying, hey, I know 5,000 nouns, so that means I must be proficient in the language. No, I'm simply just trying to give numeric value to different parts of speech. That way I know I'm covering every area. And depending on how motivated you are to learn the language, and depending on how much time you're willing to dedicate or how much time you have to dedicate, will also determine, the amount of things you're going to be able to divvy up in your goals. So now that I'm going to be a full-time student in January, and I also have 2 jobs, obviously I'm not going to say, hey, I want to learn 500 nouns within 3 months. Like, just sticking to things that are realistic. And like I said earlier, you don't have to constrain yourself to the things that you've set as goals. Just simply utilize them as ways to track your progress. So I highly recommend keeping a language journal, which I intend on making a video of what my language journals usually look like. That way you can look back and say, hey, I'm still progressing, and you're not thinking you're in some plateau, like you've seen some improvement based on things you've tracked in your journal. Just an update, things I also intend on making videos on. I want to do videos on just things that I've recommended to you guys in the first 2 videos and seeing them in progress. So I plan on tracking my Turkish journey from A1 all the way to what I'm planning to reach, which is like B1, B2 level. That way you can just see how it works and that it is working for me, and the things I've recommended to you aren't just words or things that actually help you. I also want to do videos on, again, more language learning tips, and then videos for people that are non-English speakers, because that's what I intend to do. I intend to teach English to people that don't speak it as a native language. And then I also want to do like little funny shorts talking about like the different aspects of language learning. I encourage you to check out the one I just made. I literally couldn't stop laughing when I was making it. And then yeah, those are just the ideas I have now. So just stay tuned, and I hope you like this video and subscribe to my future videos. Thank you.